I mean, if you think about other fines that you pay for red light, for parking infractions, nobody's questioning those as cash grabs.
We go on yet another Monday. Welcome back to Closer Look across the Village Media Network and wherever you get your favorite podcast with Michael Friscolanti. I'm Scott Sexsmith. I will say this, unlike the European Ryder Cup golf team, I do not have a hangover, even though the Jays played a wonderful game yesterday to clinch it.
Yeah, I was scoreboard watching. I didn't see the game, but
it was
big
wild.
First inning.
Well, they were down early, 1-0, top of the first. Then they loaded the bases and Alejandro Kirk stepped up and went deep.
I feel like the Rogers Center would have been rocking in the old Jose Bautista days of that home run, right?
Yeah, that was also wild back in 2015.
I got to give them credit. I mean, the Yankees really tore it up at the end of the season, and I thought for sure the Jays just weren't going to hold on.
Well,
and it took to the last game of the year. So
you know that expression about you know what in the bed. They certainly did that.
Yeah.
Leading up to the last week or so of the regular season.
And what's great, the Yankees are playing the Red Sox in a 2 out of 3, which will be fun to watch too.
Yeah, and you and I were talking about this upstairs because now the Jays are off until Saturday.
Yeah, it's a long
so they've got 6 days to do nothing.
Yes, but think.
Right? And you know what that's like.
The worst thing that you can do is think. Yeah, there's been a lot of examples in baseball of teams taking it because baseball is an everyday game, right? It's the rhythm of the game. It's like a heartbeat baseball, and if you kind of stop the heart for 6 days, you're in some trouble.
That never ends well.
Yep. Speaking of heartbeats.
Yes. Nice segue.
A lot of hearts beating over Doug Ford's decision to scrap automatic speed cameras.
He's making friends everywhere he goes.
Everywhere he goes. Yeah, this is a talker. A lot of people have strong opinions of this because it's been in the news so much lately from you see cameras being vandalized in some communities.
Yep.
People are ripping them down because they're angry about them. They think they're a cash grab. But there's been a lot of research done as well showing that they're actually making a big difference, that they're slowing traffic down in school zones, for example.
Yeah.
Likely saving lives and injuries. And the fact that this money is actually, in a lot of cases, going toward improving traffic in communities.
Yeah.
So, there's a lot of debate around these cameras. And now the Ford government made a big announcement that they're going to outlaw them when the ledge sits again in the fall. So we're going to have a nice discussion about that and kind of understand all the ins and outs of it.
Yes. And, here's one question that I have, and certainly we'll have it for the panel. What about the argument for people that will slow down because they know they're approaching a speed camera, and then they just go right back to, driving the way that they were driving prior to?
I think our panelists will have a good answer for that one. There's a lot of interesting points about this. But, the idea – the research is showing that they're working, right?
Yes.
So that's part of it. That's the part of the big question that we're going to have. So I'm looking forward to this chat.
All right, let's get to it. Today on the show, Pamela Fuselli from Parachute Canada, Michael Stewart from CAA, and our very own Jack Howen, who's been covering this story from the Trillium. 6 years after it allowed the practice, the Ontario government now says it will outlaw speed cameras, making good on Premier Doug Ford's promise to end what he calls a cash grab by municipalities. Lots of strong opinions on this one. Joining us to talk about speed cameras is a great panel of guests. We've got Pam Fuselli, the president and CEO of the injury prevention charity Parachute Canada, Michael Stewart of the Canadian Automobile Association, and our very own Jack Howen, a reporter with the Trillium, who has been covering this story for some time. Let's start with the basics, if we can, Jack. What specifically did the Ford government announce last week, and what was their motivation?
Well, the Premier announced on Thursday that he was going to ban speed cameras in municipalities. As for the motivation, this is something that he's been talking about for a little while now, floating, talking about how unfair the speed cameras are and how they're being used as what he describes as a cash grab by cities and towns, dinging people for breaking the speed limits, which he feels is unfair.
All right, there's lots to break down about this announcement. Jack, I want to stick with you for a second if I can. Doug Ford says he's taking action because these cameras are nothing but a cash grab for cities. Is he right?
Well, it depends on who you ask. Many cities that have implemented speed cameras, the funds that they get go largely towards paying the companies that run the speed cameras. In Guelph, for instance, Guelph today did a report on the fact that the city only keeps about 15% of the revenue, the rest going towards the company that runs them. And in a lot of cities, the revenue that they do have to play with goes to a dedicated traffic safety fund. So it's spent on things like signage, roundabouts, speed bumps, that kind of thing. So it's essentially outsourcing paying for road safety measures to speeders, as opposed to putting that on the property tax base. Not every city does that. Some cities just put them in general revenue. But the premier last week and before has implied that that practice is widespread and that cities are making money hand over fist through this.
Pam, I see you shaking your head. Can I bring you into the conversation? When you hear about the cash grab argument, what goes through your mind?
Yeah, I just don't think it's founded in real data. As Jack said, the municipalities I've talked to, they have their expenses in running the speed cameras, and then they mostly direct the money to road safety initiatives. I mean, if you think about other fines that you pay for red light, for parking infractions, nobody's questioning those as cash grabs. Where so it's one of the tools in the toolbox, and to say that this is primarily a cash grab, I just think is totally unfounded.
It's a great point. I was going to ask a similar question to Michael. There's a lot of safety measures that cost money, whether it's police enforced speeding tickets or building permits, for example. Yeah. What do you think about that when you hear the premier using that as the justification for the change?
I think it's really important when it comes to automated speed enforcement to remember why we got it in the first place. It was for keeping schools safe. There was municipalities were having an issue with speeding around schools. And automated speed enforcement was a tool that they were given the authority to use. And it's been there. We know through our survey data and through research from Sick Kids and Toronto Metropolitan University that these cameras have been effective over the years. I don't think we expected them to solve the issue overnight. It does take time to change behavior. And I think that's what's really important to that automated speed enforcement conversation is why they were there. They were never meant to be gotcha moments. They weren't necessarily meant to be these big revenue generators, and any revenue that did come, municipalities were going to use those funds back into road safety programs, which is what CA supported back when we were first having these conversations. So it's just really important that kind of through a lot of this rhetoric to remember why they were there in the first place, which is road safety. And if they are going to be removed in the future, what measures are going to be implemented to make sure that our roads remain safe?
Pam, what do we know about whether these speed cameras are actually making an impact in terms of safety? Is there any evidence that speed cameras actually reduce crashes or injuries?
They definitely reduce speed. There's no question about the evidence of their effectiveness. They've been effective in Ontario, in other Canadian provinces, and internationally. So I don't think that there's an issue with the effectiveness of what this implementation or intervention does. And again, it's, as Michael said, it's one tool in the toolbox. There's lots of other things that are being done in communities that are looking at road safety. These speed cameras are not catching people 1 or 2 or 3 kilometers over the speed limit. They're, according to Brampton's mayor, the cameras are set to send out tickets for 11 kilometers over the posted limit. So 10 kilometers over. So they're not being issued for a few kilometers over. And if people are saying that, they need to check the speed limit in the zone that they were given the ticket, because that is just not the case. And we know, from the work that Parachute has done and many of our colleagues across the country that, for every 1.6 kilometer reduction in average speed, collisions are reduced by 5%. So 10 kilometers over really makes a difference. And you can see that when you look at the data that show that, a pedestrian, if they're struck at 50 kilometers an hour, are 6 times more likely to be killed than one struck at 30. So if we're talking about a 10, even 15 kilometers over, you're still looking at 4, maybe 5 times more likely to be killed if you're struck by a vehicle. So, the incremental kilometers do make a difference, but they're not being sent out for just 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 9 even. It's a significant amount of speed over the posted limit. So if we're not going to adhere to posted maximum speed limits, what is the point of posting a maximum speed limit?
Good point. That's a very important point. Thanks, Pam. Jack, I'm not quizzing you here, but you did have a lot of great stats in your latest piece about how this has lowered speeds in a lot of different communities. What did you find as you poked around?
Yeah, so in the announcement, the Premier was quite emphatic that the cameras are not working. They're not slowing people down. His argument was essentially that when you look at the number of tickets issued, he pointed to one camera in Toronto that issued 65,000 tickets in 3 months. He said if the cameras were working, there wouldn't be any tickets issued.
Yeah.
And while that argument is, kind of appealing on a simplistic level, when you actually look at the data, the cameras are slowing people down, definitely. There was a study from TMU and Sick Kids that found that the cameras cut speeding by 45% in school zones in Toronto. Brampton City staff found that average speeds dropped by 9 kilometers an hour in speed camera locations. In Mississauga, it was 9 kilometers an hour across the city, and 14 kilometers an hour in the camera zones. Waterloo, 15K, Essa Township saw 29% speed reduction. Yeah, I mean, the evidence is there that they do in fact work.
You passed the quiz, Jack. Congratulations. You nailed all the numbers there. Go ahead, Scott.
I definitely had those memorized, but not reading them.
Good for you, Jack. Michael, let's go back to you for a second if we can. Part of this story is the fact that some people have actually vandalized these cameras, damaging them and tearing them down in what we can only assume is some form of protest. Is it true, though, that the vast majority of drivers actually support the presence of these devices?
Yes, I probably should start this with, first off, of course, we don't condone any violence towards these cameras or any form of vandalism. If you do have any frustrations with it, please reach out to the city or your elected official to have those conversations. It might be a more productive use of that time. But we actually CA conducted a survey of 1,500 Ontario drivers earlier this year. And one of the things we did ask about was their overall support for automated speed enforcement, knowing that the has been a topic of conversation lately. We did find that about 73% of Ontario drivers do support automated speed enforcement overall. And it was about 76% also agree that they deter speeding. We also found out in that survey that a quarter of Ontario drivers did admit to ever receiving an automated speed enforcement ticket in the mail, which is up from 17% the year prior. But that increase could be because there's just more cameras out there. If there's more cameras, you're going to catch more people speeding. And so I think that it's important to remember that there is that public support there. I think a lot of people do realize why those cameras were put in. And I think it's a matter of frustration when you get a ticket in the mail. No one likes that. No one enjoys opening their mail to a ticket that they have to pay a fine, whether that be maybe their first ticket ever or their first ticket in a while. But it's important to take that lesson of that was your speed in that moment. And hopefully you can correct that behavior going forward. If you don't want to receive an automated speed enforcement ticket, follow that posted speed limit. Of course, there are different traffic calming measures that I know the Premier has talked about for helping to slow people down, whether that be raised crosswalks. I know he mentioned roundabouts, which are great at intersections and getting drivers to slow down and preventing collisions there. But what other measures are there that can help slow down? We hope that through this legislative process, there will be a lot of conversation to provide that feedback and hear from experts on how, if automated speed enforcement is to go, what safety measures can come in to help ensure that those efforts over the years are not lost and that we continue to keep our roads safe.
Just building on that, Pam, can we not find a middle ground here? Like maybe we can keep the cameras, but maybe change the rules around them, for example?
Yeah, I think we have to give the municipalities some credit in terms of their assessment of what their own situations are and what's the most effective intervention. But certainly we don't have to go to the extent of banning them outright. There are ways to maybe revise the legislation, maybe require increased signage, be transparent about what the speed above which a ticket will be issued, make it mandatory to direct the fines to transportation safety initiatives, especially built environment interventions, and mandate them to collect. I mean, I think they all are anyway, but collect and report on the data that show whether there is the positive behavior change that we're looking for, and to assess whether they're working or not. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think the municipalities are probably doing this anyway. They're not inexpensive to implement, and so they want to make sure that the resources that they do have are going to something that's effective. So I think those are just a handful of ways that we could as you say, find a middle ground than banning these very effective tools outright.
Jack, what about the cost? I'm assuming, obviously, municipalities had to pay some money up front to get these things installed, put the signs up that say they're here. I'm assuming it's millions of dollars if you counted it all up across the province. Are cities expressing that concern that they spend some money on this stuff and now they have to stop it?
The interviews that I was doing with the cities were mostly focused on whether they work and how much they work. But certainly among the cities that have put them up, you are seeing an outcry, and they want to keep them in many cases, obviously Vaughan excluded. And part of that is that it provides them some cash to work with. By and large, is it a huge cash cow? Likely not in many cities, but in addition to the improvements in road safety, a little bit of extra money to spend on speed bumps and whatnot is certainly welcome in a lot of cash-strapped municipalities.
It feels like every organization out there is telling the Ford government that this is a bad idea, including both of yours, the Ontario Association of Chiefs of Police and the Ontario Traffic Council, who is saying it's actually a good idea. Comments?
Yeah, there's no shortage of people who are in support of it, including municipalities. We've heard from a couple during the announcement last week, but there are so many more. Jack's listed a number of them. They're all in support of it. I've been working in this field for over 25 years. This is unusual to find this much agreement across so many organizations. And it's encouraging that the discussion about road safety and speed reduction has really moved that far in that amount of time. So there's hundreds of us out here willing to work with the province and the government to find solutions other than a ban.
Yes, and to add to what Pam said, there is certainly going to hopefully be a lot of consultations coming up as they move through this legislation. We're hoping that we'll be able to be part of those and provide our insights. But I think what's important to almost even mention is just whether it's before, during, or well beyond when automated speed enforcement goes, if this legislation moves forward, it's important to just have these road safety conversations. Mm-hmm. Speeding is one of the leading causes of injuries and fatalities on our roads. We know it's one of the major road safety concerns of Ontario drivers from our surveys. So no matter what that tool is or what's being discussed, the fact that we're talking about road safety and it's getting it to be top of mind for so many Ontarians. And hopefully it'll make people a bit more mindful of their speed, even without automated speed enforcement, if they know that's going. Still taking those lessons of, all right, I need to make sure that I'm following that posted speed limit, especially around schools. There are very vulnerable road users there. We want kids to get to and from school safely. So it's really important that we're all being conscious of our speed and making sure that we're traveling safety. And it's a shared responsibility that we all play a part in.
I'm sure one question that our viewers may have as they sit and watch this tonight, if I went through a speed camera a couple of weeks ago and got issued a ticket, and now they're banning speed cameras. Am I obligated to pay it?
I believe yes, until any legislation comes in and then of course goes through first, second, third reading, passes, gets royal assent, gets implemented. It's my understanding that yes, you will still need to pay those tickets. Hopefully Ontarians aren't going to be getting them. Hopefully they're not speeding through these areas. But yes, it's my understanding you will still need to pay those tickets.
The Premier was asked during the announcement whether they would be issuing refunds to speeders caught, and he said you have to ask the municipalities about that.
Jack, did anyone ask the Premier if you keep the speed cameras in place if a portion of the revenue went towards the 401 tunnel?
That's a good question. No, I don't believe so.
You could save that for the next one.
Yeah.
Anyone else have any thoughts that we didn't touch on that you want to get across tonight?
I do want to add one thing, which is that the Premier does have a point in saying that streets aren't very well designed. Lots of streets aren't very well designed, because part of this proposal is not just to ban speed cameras, but also to fund improvements to the roads that will actually force people to speed down proactively instead of reactively. It's unclear how that's going to work, how much money is being set aside, et cetera. But, there are a lot of roads, if you drive in Ontario, where they're big and wide and straight, and the speed limit is 40K, and it feels like you're crawling if you're going 40K. And definitely if you get a ticket on that road, if you're keeping up with traffic a couple weeks later, you might think, well, what the heck? This is totally unfair. The mayor of Burlington said that they've tried a lot of things on these types of roads, and speed cameras are basically the best option, especially if they're near schools or if EMS vehicles need to pass them. They can't be going over speed bumps. But anyway, I just wanted to flag that, we basically just didn't design roads correctly a lot of the time.
Yeah. It's a great point. We do hear that a lot. And you're right in the sense that we don't really know exactly how this is all going to fold. I think the Premier is promising large new signs and funding for speed bumps and roundabouts and raised crosswalks, things like you mentioned. But I guess time will tell on that, Jack, how that unfolds.
Yeah, those details will be coming, I'm sure.
And all of those, I do want to point out, all of those options are already available to municipalities. So it's not new. I mean, the funding may be new and increased funding for those specific things, but municipalities have all of those tools in their toolbox already that they can use. And I think Jack makes a really good point with the mayor of Burlington that they're having to deal with existing infrastructure that would be prohibitively expensive to redesign. And so there are other tools that can be used.
It's a great point. Just before we go, because Michael, I do have you on the call, and you represent CAA. Does CAA have a position on the 401 tunnel? I'm totally changing the topic here, but do you have does the organization have a comment on Doug Ford's plan to build a tunnel under Highway 401?
We know that is something that the Ford government has announced their intention of looking into. I believe there is feasibility studies, or they're looking into feasibility studies. That is not I'm on the road safety side of things. I'm happy to connect you with our government relations side to talk about those matters. But I do just want to add, just as a final thought, and maybe just an overall reminder, and I feel like I'm such a road safety reminder throughout this whole thing. Just when it comes to speeding in general, technically in Ontario, anything above that posted speed limit is speeding. We have posted speed limits for a reason. As Pam mentioned, they are there to keep you moving and keep you moving safely. Traveling above those posted speed limits increases your risk of a collision and potentially the severity of that crash as well. So just wanted to put that reminder out there to everyone listening that automated speed enforcement or not, the posted speed limit is the posted speed limit, and you should be traveling that.
All right, very well said. Safety first. Great discussion. Pam Fuselli from Parachute Canada, Michael Stewart from CAA, and of course Jack Howen from the Trillium. Thanks to each of you for joining us tonight on the show.
Thank you.
Well, thanks for having us.
Thank you.
All right, I don't want to put you on the spot. Maybe I do. In your lifetime, any speeding tickets? Oh,
I'm trying to remember.
Head scratcher.
It's been a while since I drove a car. But I have a driver,
When
Scott.
you reach your statute, of course you have a driver.
I get picked up. I don't know. I don't think I've ever gotten a speeding ticket.
Really?
I can't remember ever getting a speed ticket. I'm a very law-abiding, rule-following citizen. I know you're a bit of a wild child, but
well,
I follow the rules.
I had one, and it was like 2 months after I got my license at 16.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I bet it wasn't a speed camera, right? 'Cause you're talking about the 1960s?
I got pulled over by the OPP.
You missed that.
No, I caught it. I just tried to ignore it. Pulled over outside of North Bay by the OPP.
Yeah?
I think I was going just a little too fast for his liking.
Are you still paying off the ticket? Or
I am not.
you paid it off right away. Did you fight it?
I did not fight it. I was a 16-year-old kid.
Yeah.
I was scared, what-less.
Yeah, it's just this issue fascinates me because we've been talking about this for months because it's been in the news. Like there was a time, there was a period in Toronto where they were getting ripped down once a day. It felt like, and then communities like Guelph, the people were very angry because they were getting like 3 tickets a week, and because they were going like 5 kilometers over the speed limit. Yeah. I feel like some of those issues have been ironed out, and I feel like this is one of those things where the cities have figured out how to use it the way they want to use it, and it's in place, it's working, it's generating revenue for certain things. Like Jack said, some of it's most of the time it's going toward traffic calming measures, sometimes it's going toward general revenue, but it's been in place, and all of a sudden we're going to blow all that up, right?
Yeah.
And this is the debate that I guess everybody's having. We'll see.
All right, that's a wrap for tonight. For Closer Look, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, X, YouTube, the Village Media Network. I'll tell you, we're all over the place. Make sure that you subscribe, and we keep pushing this because we can save you a lot of headache, send you each and every episode right to your inbox. Just go to closerlookpodcast.ca, and you can sign up. It's absolutely free. Closer Look at villagemedia.ca. Any thoughts or comments or questions about the program, we'd love to hear from you. For Michael Friscolanti, our editor-in-chief here at Village Media, I'm Scott Sexsmith. Thanks for watching tonight. We'll see you tomorrow night at 7 right here on Closer Look.
Frisco and Scott's Wardrobe provided in part by Moores, Sault Ste. Marie.